Okay, well here I have my mainsail made by North Sails. This is for the Tanzer 22. And I took it off to work on it. I believe you've seen some previous videos where I mentioned that the sail slugs are actually too small in diameter for the mast track slot. You see here, I'm not sure exactly what size they are, but I believe these are 3/8 inch slugs. And in measuring the mast track, I found that it could easily take a 1/2 inch. It's just over a 1/2 inch in diameter. The mast was originally set up for a bolt rope, and they converted to slugs because slugs are a lot more convenient when hoisting and dousing the sails. But whoever ordered the sail originally seems to have ordered slugs that were too small. And so what I'm doing is I'm replacing them. I've got most of them done now, but what I did was I went out and bought the appropriate 1/2 inch size slug, and I bought some new 1/2 inch webbing. And I wasn't sure exactly how to go about this, but it turns out it's relatively simple. So I've got a few things here. I've got the 1/2 inch webbing. I've got the replacement slugs. I have an old slug that I took off. I've got a nice pair of scissors, and I have also some Marlowe ropes whipping twine, which is I believe number 4. I've got my palm, and I also have a large sewing needle. And so what I do is I've measured the old length here. This is one that I believe is put on by the sail maker. So I looked at what they were doing here. But I'll measure out this, cut it to size, seal the ends, and then I'll show you a couple other tricks. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking this and we're going to wrap the end around this hook here. And I've been trying to keep the center line of the webbing in. And you essentially anchor this to itself. And I've been doing that by simply taking a piece, heating up, melting it, and then pressing it on itself. And if you let that cool, that's sufficient to hold it in place until you start the process of passing the thread through it. We'll cut this old one off. Sorry about the shaking there. And I'm just cutting the old thread. So I just cut the old thread off, and then you'll see that this is wrapped around a few times. And this is what the old one looks like. And they did the same thing, they melted the top here. So we'll get this out of the way. I did the same thing here. We'll go ahead and pass this through. Take it through one time here. And another. And I don't think I made that quite long enough. Okay, we've got a little bit of a longer piece, so we'll pass that through once again. And there's really no need for any kind of real overhang here. So I just want it. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to pass the needle of thread straight through the center here and wrap it around one side and then the other. So let me get that ready. And so again, I'm using this number 4 whipping twine. I would be more concerned if this is really difficult to do, to replace these, but it's not, and it's relatively inexpensive because the webbing's not too bad. I'm sure the whipping twine will be fine, but I did buy some 5-ply waxed twine from Sailboat. That just won't be here in time for this initial foray, so I'm going to go along with this. Again, it seemed like it was pretty good, and frankly, it didn't seem like the original thread or twine, whatever you want to call it, had much wear on it, so I'm not terribly worried about it. But I double it over. I've got about, I don't know, 15 inches doubled over here, or a total of 30 inches doubled over to make 15. And then I just do kind of a double twist figure of 8, just something to make it nice and large, so when you first pull it through, it doesn't want to just come all the way through. And I don't worry about this too much because we're just going to melt that down anyways. But then with that, we'll go ahead and this. And we'll pass it right through the middle here. Sometimes right into your finger on the opposite side. You want to get nice and close to the wire of the slug. I don't think it's necessary to get quite so close to the bolt rope here, but there's not much play in this one here, so don't worry about it too much either way. But you do want to get it centered if you can. And then I'll just pull this all the way through. I'll put some tension on it, and I'm just going to keep on going this way. I'll wrap it around this way, and what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to find that same hole if I can. I don't know how critical it is, but it does seem whoever did the original over there looked like that's exactly what they were going for. And so I'll call this is the second pass right here. Here's the third. And you see I'm just going over the same side over and over again. And here now is the fourth. And it really isn't very difficult to pull these through until you get to the opposite side. And then it does become a little bit more difficult. A palm definitely is helpful. But I found that a pair of pliers or something typically isn't needed to pull the needle through. But anyways, I'll wrap it through. I'll go around the opposite direction now. But I'm still going to go straight through that same hole, or as close to it as I can get. Okay, that's 3, and this will be 4. And you see, I didn't quite get it all in the same location. One of those is pretty far off, but I mean, time will tell. This is only on a Tanzer 22, so I don't think it's quite as critical. So anyways, we'll just cut this now. Get rid of the needle. And then all I've been doing here to finish it off is to tie a series of square or reef knots. Try not to get blood all over. And then once you've got a few there, you can snip off some excess. And then I'll use a lighter in this case just to melt that down. And I'll use my palm just to smooth it out a little bit. So that's well secured now. And I've got a couple more left to do on this sail. You can see how kind of loose this one was. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I suspect it'll loosen up after time anyways. But I like to have those replaced, and then if I can here very soon, I'll hoist the sail and see how that goes. But it should be a lot better because these were getting stuck in the sail track because they're just not the right size. Well, I'm at a friend's house, and I just they let me use their yard to wash up the mainsail for the Tanzer 22. I wasn't sure how good it would come out. It seemed like there were some mildew stains, green stains that looked more like some sort of grass stains or whatnot, maybe because someone else washed it on someone's lawn. But using soap and water, a scrub brush, and even a little bit of diluted bleach, it seems to have come out pretty well. It's not great. The corners aren't, there's still some discoloring or whatnot, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was before. So I am really happy about that. I'm going to leave it out to get to dry out. Sorry about the wind. You see the head is not it's not terribly clean or whatnot, but overall I think it looks a whole lot better. Now I'm going to use her sewing machine to sew a new cockpit pocket out of Sunbrella. Okay, so I see where I've already made a mistake. I should have hemmed the sides before doing this big flap, because now this is going to be ugly no matter how I do it. Okay, well, here it is, and I got to admit it's pretty lousy. It's a first run, and we'll see what I think about it when I actually get it on the boat and do that. I think I also may put a couple of bronze or brass eyelets down here so that any water that gets in can drain right out. But there you go. I have to think about what I can do to make this look a little bit better. I don't know if it's just, obviously my sewing skills are pretty poor. They are simply pragmatic skills. I should have designed it so that all of the seams were internal, and I could have done that. There are a lot of folds and such, but I just blew it. Anyways, I'm putting these twist locks on it now, and I've got one set up. And what I did was I used a soldering iron in this case and just burned through the Sunbrella. They make some sort of tool. These are from Sailboat. These twist locks, I believe got them from Sailboat, and they make a tool to punch them through, which is probably a lot cleaner. But I decided not to use that. It's like $65 or something like that. So this worked just fine. The tip of a soldering iron right through the fabric after marking off where the teeth are here, and then those teeth, after you put the metal piece in, they're really easy to bend over with a screwdriver. And then I'll probably just use that soldering iron again to burn out the metal. But I just wanted to show you what I had here. And then when I'm up the boat, for any length of time coming up, this is the Tanzer 22 I'm talking about, I will put the twist locks, install those in the cockpit, appropriately spaced for this bag.